July 5th, 2025. In the sweltering waters off the coast of Somalia, 31 speedboats carrying 250 pirates attack a U.S. supply ship, a vessel quietly carrying vital supplies to a nearby U.S. aircraft carrier. Armed with rocket launchers and heavy machine guns, the pirates move with terrifying coordination. In just a few minutes, they have almost taken control of the ship. But they underestimated the enemy they are facing. A moment later, the sky thunders. 10, may or 60 Seahawk helicopters carrying 300 elite U.S. Special Forces soldiers equipped with sophisticated weapons, 5 FA-18 Super Hornets, 20 MQ-25 Stingray drones, all aimed at a single target, the pirates' lair. And then America came knocking on their door with steel, fire, and fury. There would be no negotiations, no mercy, no time for regret. Because when you hijack a ship flying the American flag, you're not just dealing with sailors, you're dealing with the entire force of the United States. Come with me and find out what happened to the sailors. 6:12 a.m., July 5th, 2025. A U.S. aircraft carrier supply ship disguised as a civilian cargo ship was quietly moving through the pirate-infested waters off Somalia to provide support. On board were 10 lightly armed U.S. sailors guarding a ship carrying fuel and a classified explosive compound needed to power F-35s and long-range cruise missiles on aircraft carriers. This was more than just cargo. It was the lifeblood of a U.S. aircraft carrier strike group. Suddenly, the cargo ship's warning sounded. 31 speedboats traveling at speeds of more than 50 knots streaked across the horizon like a swarm of bees. Each boat carried 8 pirates armed with RPGs, heavy machine guns, and bayonets. More than 240 attackers hardened by years of piracy and battlefield experience. This was no random attack. It was a coordinated military-style attack. The pirates split into several attack teams. One group used rocket-propelled grenades and ship-mounted guns to suppress the Americans, forcing them to take cover. A second group attacked the ship's blind spots, threw hooks, and climbed aboard. The sound of gunfire tore through the calm sea. The American security forces returned fire from behind steel containers. 2 pirates were shot down, but it was not enough. In less than 4 minutes, the ship was out of control. 5 Americans were killed. 3 were seriously wounded. The pirates stormed the bridge and took control. The surviving sailors and soldiers were tied with tow ropes and forced to lie on the deck at gunpoint. But one action changed everything. Before he was captured, the ship's captain, a former Navy lieutenant, activated a silent distress signal. The signal was transmitted directly to the nearest American carrier group patrolling less than 200 kilometers away. The pirates had no idea they were celebrating. They thought they had just captured another supply ship for ransom. They had no idea they had stolen a vital line of American naval firepower. And most of all, they had no idea that hundreds of American fighters were in the air and were closing in fast. A stern-faced Rear Admiral Sloan stepped to the podium and delivered a simple message. No one seizes a U.S. naval asset and walks away. No one threatens our supply lines without consequence. America will respond faster, harder, and farther than they ever expected. This would not end with negotiations. It would end with explosions visible from space. Still watching? Good. Because now comes the part where American warfighters take back the ship inch by inch. To the outside world, it looked like a rusted cargo vessel, slow, silent, and unremarkable. But beneath its steel decks was one of the most strategically vital assets in the U.S. Navy's supply chain. Officially designated Logistics Vessel 72 Delta, the ship carried high-density jet fuel, missile stabilizers, thermal ignition compounds, and encrypted avionics components for the nearby carrier strike group operating in the Arabian Sea. In short, without this ship, the carrier's F-35 fighters couldn't fly, and its missile systems couldn't fire. It was a floating fuel line, a mobile arsenal, and a high V-value target. One the Navy never expected would fall into enemy hands. The pirates didn't know it, but by seizing this vessel, they had just compromised a mission-critical node in the U.S. global strike network. And if those materials were sold, or worse, reverse-engineered, the consequences would ripple far beyond the Indian Ocean. Inside the Pentagon, red lights were flashing. The incident was immediately classified as a national security breach. Intelligence officers feared that if the pirates offloaded the contents, the materials could be funneled to hostile states or terror networks. But time was running out. The pirates were now less than 10 nautical miles from their coastal base, a known black market hub that had eluded international strikes for years. The U.S. response had to be immediate, overwhelming, and absolute, not just to retrieve the ship, but to send a message to every rogue actor on Earth. If you touch America's supply lines,